So I got my buddy Moses here. So again, this is the, basically mixing with friends. So I hope I get to do more of these where my friends control the crates. And I got my buddy here, Moses. So, all right, Moses, I'm going to pass the mic to you because, again, it's mixing with friends, which means my friends get to choose. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. My friends get to choose all the songs. So we got another 13 songs. So it's going to be 13 up, 13 down. Whether you think that's lucky or unlucky, who knows. But, how about you just go through, don't give them any previews as to what's left because you already heard what's there. But of the stuff I played so far, why don't you just go through your thought process on like why you chose those songs, things of that nature, while I turn this down a little bit.
That's cool. So initially, when I was coming up with the batch of songs that I was going to share with Jason, I was trying to like use a word to kind of give me some sort of direction because I'm at that point in my life where I don't have like particular genres of music that I'm like super interested in. I feel like there's a time and place for all types of music these days. And so I think the word that came to mind was feeling. And my earliest memory of music that like evoked immense feeling was soul music. So I figured that was a great direction to start, so I decided to just get a lot of old songs from like soul crates that I had that I acquired over the years, whether it was vinyl rips and other means of acquiring music, you know what I mean? I actually use the term with Jason, basically digital crate digging now, you have like YouTube and stuff, Yeah, it's like I've been down numerous YouTube rabbit holes of suggestions and just people from all over the world ripping vinyl and uploading it to their YouTube channels. And it's been a great way for me to discover other genres of music, other artists and such. So for the most part, feeling, music that makes me move, you know what I mean? And really just like music that I don't want to necessarily say is timeless, but I could kind of just play wherever, in the car, first thing in the morning, you know what I mean? Just good feel music, you know what I mean? So that's basically what it was all about. And soul music was basically the foundation to that. I sprinkled a little bit of funk in there, some jazz, and then there's some songstresses of mine that are they're very empowering, you know what I mean? Whether it was like what we heard earlier with some Nina Simone, you know what I mean? And I believe did we play some Badu earlier or no? I don't think we played it. There might be some, yeah, you know what I mean? Spoiler alert. But yeah, man. As far as coffee goes, I'm pretty boring now, man. I literally just cold brew, black. I don't want no sugar, no nothing. Like,
I don't think that's boring. I think it's a good way to drink coffee. But we were talking about this earlier. You may be switching from cold brew now, though, because when I taught you about the whole when I told you about the whole pour over Japanese iced coffee pour over method.
yeah, but what's the term that you use? Something chill? What was it?
Oh, all right. So actually, that's a good thing you brought that up. So again, we're today. Also, I think you said you felt like what was it in Friday? You said you felt like somebody in the movie Friday when he's drinking the.
Oh, I feel like when I was sitting while he was playing the tunes, I was getting this vibe of Pinky from Next Friday, you know what I mean, in the back of his limousine drinking cognac, you know what I mean, out the glass. Like, that was the vibe I was getting with the music, you know what I mean, and that's what I mean. Going back to what I said about feeling, like, I never would have imagined that would be the feeling that was evoked from the music that my friend is playing that I suggested. You know, it's like that's the beauty of music. It takes you places. You know what I mean? Whether retrospective, introspective, you know what I mean? That's the beauty, you know? That's the beauty. It's the beauty of music, you know?
I think that's also like what so a couple of things. One, I definitely agree with you. Like the songs had a vibe and a feel, but the other thing is I think that's the mark of like a DJ in the sense of right, um, that you can give the same 30 tracks to like 5 different DJs. And there may be some similarities in what they do from a technical standpoint, but like you're gonna get 5 totally different. Like, you should get 5 totally different mixes with different vibes and different feelings. So, like you said, even though it was tracks that like you knew the way that they were put together, it seemed like you were feeling it. So I was like, all right, because truth be told, I had to do a gig in Newport last night, and I didn't go until like 3 in the morning. So I was just like, all right, I'm gonna be mixing by the seam of my pants here. And luckily, the timing and the instincts kicked in, and you were feeling it. Hopefully, whoever's watching this or listening to this was feeling it too. So if you're wondering why at the end it just kind of jumped genres a little bit, there you go. That's not an excuse, I'm just saying, but I think that's just a mark of a DJ. Like, you've heard these songs, but then I mixed them a certain way, and it gave you a certain vibe. Also helps the fact that, listen, I get fancy on this fucking show, okay? I get fancy. We're drinking out of the goblet-style beer glasses, but that's how I drink my iced coffee. It's out of like a Cavassier type of snifter glass. That's the way to do it. But speaking of, when you were talking about the coffee, because we were talking earlier about cold brew, and I've actually covered that on the show. That there's nothing wrong with cold brew, but it ends up tasting a lot of times tasting the same, at least for me after a while, because the flavors of coffee usually when you're like, if you're like reading about coffee, like, oh, this has notes of chocolate or berry or this or that. That's assuming you're adding heat to the process. So when you're doing cold brew, yeah, it's very smooth, but then you lose the subtleties, right? But do that Japanese pour over iced coffee method, that works. As I was talking about that with Moses before the show started, there's a more large-scale version of that, and I'm glad he mentioned it, Snap Chilled, and that is actually trademarked by Elemental Beverage Company. But this is the coffee we're sipping on, folks. The Bolt Coffee Mass Appeal, their Nitro. But again, what makes this a little different is because, and maybe I can try and get the logo up there. If you can, yep. Actually, no, that ain't gonna work because the focus. But whatever. I'll just say what it is. There's a little logo on here that says Snap Chill. It's by the Elemental Beverage Company, and what that means is that it's a more industrial version of that pour over iced coffee method. What that means is basically they're taking all this coffee. They are brewing it using heat, so you're getting the full like flavors of that coffee. But then as soon as I'm not an expert on like how it exactly works, but basically like the short version is as soon as it's brewed and the heat is applied, they're chilling it right away. So it's the best of both worlds. You're not getting the acidity of just like taking like hot coffee and then adding ice to it, because that's a bit different. You're getting the lower acidity of cold brew, but then you're still getting the full flavor profile because you're still using heat. So it's a little bit A and B. So Bolt Coffee, I know with their Mass Appeal, and Mass Appeal, also Bolt. I want to show this clip on social media because I want to see if Bolt. Did you name Mass Appeal because of the Gangstar song? Because if so, I love y'all even more. Or is this just a happy coincidence? Just to bring it back to music, because I was like, I saw this and thought Gangstar. Or Massive. Like, are the folks at Bolt just like really dope hip hop heads? Like they read Mass Appeal magazine, or like they're in a Gangstar, or both, and they're just like, we're gonna call it Mass Appeal? Or is it just a coincidence? Because the Mass Appeal is their like, it's kind of like their gateway drug into their specialty coffee thing. It's like, oh, like if you just drink like just the normal like breakfast blends or whatever, and like this is the gateway drug. I feel like it's amazing. But I would say if you're not into specialty coffee, try some Bolt Coffee Mass Appeal. Like this, it's a good everyday driver. But then, if you like that, you start diving deeper. Kind of like certain forms of music. Like you like one thing, then all of a sudden, like you get a little deeper in the genre, and like then you start going into subgenres, and then you start getting into like who they sampled, if they sampled, or who their influences were, and then you're reading like the liner notes for that. Oh, that bass player played on this song, and he was a session musician with this guy, and then like they played on this like Japanese blues record. So, Your next thing you know, you're on eBay spending way too much money on a single rare like Japanese import 45 of a band you've never heard of that had like one record, and they only pressed 50 of them. Like, it was made by their cousin. Now, like, but because Alchemist sampled them, now it's like a collector's item. That's how it works. That's usually how it works. I gotta give me one second. I gotta see if the interlude's on right now. Because if that, I gotta play that. I gotta hold on. Didn't run out. It was just a quiet moment between the tracks. This is Moses now knows firsthand. And our screen went away. Not for you guys, for us. Moses knows firsthand now what I have to do to make this show work. Usually by myself. And now I got new equipment. It is legit just like spinning plates. It's like, oh, and you have to DJ, by the way. It's like I gotta come up with the coffee. Usually I'm making coffee. Today I had no time. Like, again, with the Newport gig. Today I had no time. But usually I'm like making coffee and it's hot, so it's like I'm dealing with boiling water. And like, what could possibly go wrong?
At one point I was considering I'm Eritrean, East African, Habesha, and there's, when it comes to coffee in our culture, there's like a whole like coffee ceremony that goes on where the coffee beans are like sizzled, and almost like the aroma from the coffee is almost spread. The coffee beans being sizzled and like cooked in a pan that brought around, and the smoke, it's almost like an incense of sorts. And then those are ground, and it's almost made into like this espresso of sorts called boon. And it is probably the strongest coffee I've ever had in my life. The cup is very small. It's probably like this big. And maybe next time we could run it back. You know what I mean? Maybe I could throw together a little Ethiopian jazz mix or something, and we could get the coffee ceremony going on in here. You know what I mean? Just gonna have to put some bags over the smoke detectors or whatever. But
or we do it on location, because
yeah,
it's pretty mobile.
Yeah, we might have to bring it to the crib.
An on location one.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool, man. So yeah, just wanted to mention a little fun fact about Ethiopian coffee, which is, do they say the coffee originated in Ethiopia? I think that's a thing. I'm not 100% sure if that was like the.
I mean, I wouldn't, like, that sounds correct.
Yeah. I think that might have to hit Google for that, but I'm pretty sure that's where it originated from. So, like, just the ceremony and everything, it's a very communal affair, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with Jay and you as well. So, yeah.
One last thing, because I'm doing shameless self-promotions apparently today. If you're digging my shirt, this is not a vintage Wu-Tang shirt. I wish it was. I guess it's like a reproduction vintage. Either way, it's dope. On Instagram at The Pool Place, spelled Poole, The Pool Place. I got this one. I wore a Prince T-shirt last night to my gig in Newport, which was perfect. And then they all, not pictured here obviously, is another one. It was a Cowboy Bebop, but they're all just made to look, or maybe they're like their old like comfort color shirts, and they just make. I don't know how they do it, but they feel and look like they were from the time that they were at, but actually they're like being made now. So the Pool